This meeting is being recorded.
Hello to everyone and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Tanner Swift and I'll be your moderator and host for this session. I'm excited to announce a trio of incredible speakers for you today, but before I hand the mic over to our presenters, I do have a few housekeeping items to cover about this presentation. Today's virtual event will be recorded and made available on demand after the live session, and the playback will be available on YouTube for rewatch as well. We will provide you with some of those details at the end. Also, we'd love to hear from you during today's presentation. During the session, if you have a question for our presenters, you can submit them through Slido, and we will answer them during our Q&A portion of today's event. There are also a few poll questions available for you to participate in through Slido. We would appreciate your responses during today's session on those as well. Just to give you a quick background on what you can expect from us during today's session on CCST IT Support certification, we will go over the benefits of the Cisco certification. We will go over some CCST IT Support job roles, the exam itself, some resources that you can use in aiding your studies, and so much more. We're so excited to bring this to you all today. So getting to our trio of presenters for you today for this CCST IT Support Basics virtual event, would like to kick things off by first welcoming Jacob. Jacob, right over to you.
Thank you, Tanner. Thanks for having me today. Hi, everybody. My name is Jakub Horbacewicz, and today I'm thrilled to share with you my professional journey, which is closely tied to Cisco certifications. So I am a CCIE specializing in data center, and currently I'm working as a program manager for the CCIE data center certification at Cisco. So let me start with the question, what is the CCIE? CCIE is the highest level certification in the networking industry from Cisco. But today we are not here to talk about CCIE, right? We are here to talk about the CCST IT Support certification, which I think is an essential stepping stone for many aspiring professionals. So I want to emphasize that just like many of you, I started at the very beginning. So my journey began years ago, obviously when I was a kid, and my dad, who is a school teacher, was bringing a PC to our place every summer holiday. I remember back then my adventure started with the Windows 3.11. A few years later, my parents bought a PC for our home, and then, a real journey began as I started exploring the internet. I remember that at first I've been using a dial-up connection, and then a couple of years later, using a broadband. So I pursued my education towards computer science. First, enrolling in a high school on IT profile, and later in a computer science field of study at the university. When I was a student, when I was eager to dive into the world of the computer science and networking, what I did is I enrolled into the Cisco Networking Academy, so NetAcad, and took my first steps into this field, into the field of the networking. So the program I started with was called CCNA, so Cisco Certified Network Associate, because, back then around 2008, 2009, the CCST certification didn't exist yet. And I need to say that the hands-on approach of the Cisco NetAcad significantly deepened my understanding of networking and gave me also practical skills, which later enabled me to pass my first certification ever, which was the CCNA certification. When I've been a NetAcad student for 4 semesters, so 2 years, it became clear to me that I wanted to work at Cisco. And actually, this dream started to materialize a few years later when I got a year-long internship at Cisco for a position which was called lab administrator. So in this role, I primarily worked on, racking and stacking networking devices and physically building demo racks for our customers and also for our partners. And meanwhile, I also completed a professional level certification, which was CCNP. Then after this, after I achieved CCNP, after my year-long internship, my career accelerated. I took on various positions at Cisco. So my next step was in the so-called Advanced Services Organization, where I started as an associate, but later I delivered multiple implementation projects across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. And after more or less 5 years in this organization, I finally passed my CCIE data center exam, and I became CCIE certified, right? Then I moved to another organization within Cisco, which is Customer Success, where I helped to build data center teams in Kraków, in Poland, where I actually live, where I'm based, and in Lisbon, in Portugal, where Cisco has another major branch in Europe. After this, eventually, I transitioned to the business unit organization, which is department responsible for bringing data center products and solutions to market. And from there, over a year ago, I changed the position to become CCIDC program manager, where I can actually contribute back to the learning and certification field where my whole journey began, right? So as you see, I gradually progressed through various positions. Also, I gradually progressed through various certifications, each one building on the last, right? Obviously, it wasn't always easy, but each challenge and each success brought me closer to my goal. And today, as a CCIE certified professional, I can look back and I can see how crucial those foundational steps were, right? They set the stage for everything that followed. So as you embark on your own journey with the CCST certification, remember that every expert was once a beginner, right? So your dedication and hard work will pave the way for the future success, and that's for sure. And I think that this is it. So over 40 years of my life and more than 10 years in the field condensed into a few minutes. So thank you all, and I look forward to seeing where your journey takes you. Thank you very much, and Joe, over to you.
Thanks, Jacob. That's a great story. I also remember using Windows 3.1.1, and I wish I had had Netacad in school. The only thing I remember from the standardized tests was when a train that leaves Chicago and a train that leaves San Francisco will meet. And I wish I would have had more networking experience and exposure when I was younger. And now what I want to do is transition a little bit from your story into the value of certification. But your story highlighted one of the values, one of the intangible values of certification that I think I feel as a certified individual, and that is a sense of pride, a sense of accomplishment, and a sense of inspiration. When you get that certification, it asserts that you have a level of skill and that you have that confidence, you have that gravitas in that field for being able to accomplish some of the hardest or solve some of the hardest problems in the IT industry. And so that's an important thing. But there are some tangible benefits of certification as well. You can see them on the slide here in terms of the hireability in the IT world of people who are certified. The need for certification today is extremely important, especially in this world of algorithms and AI. When you bring your resume, CV, and you're trying to get your foot in the door, having that certification allows you to have those conversations about the skills that you have. And even though this slide says it builds your technical skills, the certification is just a means to reflect the skills that you have. When you pursue the journey like Jacob, you pursued in your career, you're building those skills, you're building that experience, that whole continuum. You're gaining those skills, and the certification says, yes, I know what I'm talking about. And you can then have those interview conversations with hiring managers, with teams, and says, here are some of the things that I exposed myself to, or I got exposed to. Here are the solutions I came up with. And it's that journey through certification that gives you that exposure. It helps to establish your brand as who you are in this IT world. And then obviously then help you get that job, get the salary you want, that career that you want. And that is the tangible benefit of certification. So why the CCST IT support, and what is it doing? Well, again, it's about, you want to build the skills in this area, and the certification is focusing on making sure you have the skills in areas like troubleshooting, in assisting users, in being able to think logically through things and document those things. I'll say, even though it wasn't for me to tell my story, I started on phone support in Cisco, right out of university, in our technical assistance center. And I will promise you that this is a launch pad for a great career in the IT world. You are put, quote unquote, face to face over the phone. Now we have video with a customer, with a user. Yeah, sometimes the problems are IT crowd problems, and turning it off and turning it back on again fixes it. But other times, they're some of the most complex problems you're going to face. And being able to think methodically, like, what are those troubleshooting steps I want to do? What is the documentation I need to go find? What is the action plan I have to build for that customer? Helps you to establish a mindset around how you approach problems, how you become a better network engineer, and that you take with you into your IT career, no matter where you end up, like in data center, in Jakob's case, in my case, in automation and network operations. The CCST and CCST IT support can help establish that baseline and get you jump started on that career. And that's critical to be able to have those skills as you blossom and as you continue to develop in your IT journey. One of the things I wish I knew back before I took my certification, and way back when I was in our technical assistance center, CCIE was the only certification we had, and we had to get it in order to advance in our career. And I remember my manager, my boss, coming in and saying, "Joe, it's time. You got to go get this." I'm like, "Oh man, I got to go do it." And yes, I practiced. We had access to labs, to a lab environment. So I did the rack and stack. I did the cabling. I did the configuration. But you know what? I actually didn't. I knew word of mouth what was on the exam, but I didn't actually know what was on the exam. No one bothered to tell me, Joe, every one of our exams has this thing we call the blueprint, or the exam topics. It's published. You can go read about what they're going to test you on specifically. And so the first time I sat for my CCIE, it was a 2-day test back then, 2 days. I mean, obviously not all together. You got to go home and sleep. But I took the first day, and this isn't bad. I can do this. This is great, right? So I come back the second day, and my proctor, I remember him well, a guy named Mike, he said, "You did good, Joe. Okay, here's your day 2. I opened the booklet, here's what you need to do for day 2, and I got things like DECnet and ISIS. I'd never heard of them. What is this? Why do I have this on here? And if I'd known that there was this blueprint, there was these exam topics out there, I would have looked at it. And I would have known, hey, there's some other things I'm going to need to study. So I encourage all of you, as you're preparing for your CCST IT support, go out there. You can see the link here, and you don't have to worry about copying it. We'll have access in various chat places for all of the links and all of the resources we give out. But take a look at this, and you'll see every one of what we call the domains, these things numbered 1.0 through 6.0. You'll see all of them out there. And if you click on each one of them, and we'll break one down in a second here, you'll see the subtasks, the tasks and subtasks that you're going to be asked to do on this exam. You're going to be asked to know. This is what you should be learning. This is what you should be practicing, and the skills that you should be building. And you'll know that when you sit for this 50-minute exam, those are the types of questions that you're going to get, questions about those topics. But there's another secret to unlocking these exam blueprints that are out there. Again, wish I'd known, and that is the way that the tasks are written is very intentional. It's very specific. There are verbs that we use that point you to not just the verbs tell you at what level we're going to test you on. The nouns tell you what we're going to test you on. So you can see here, we've broken down domain 3, and you can see the first few tasks in here, 3.1, 3.2, 3.3. And you can see the nouns here. Okay, so we're going to have to do things like deal with network-based resources, directory services like Active Directory. That's the what. That's the what the questions are going to have. The verb is assist. You're going to have to assist users. So you can imagine that a question that would be legal or valid for this particular blueprint task would be something like, here is a user problem. You can almost picture it like something in quotes, like Sally calls in and she's describing this. And Sally says, I have this problem authenticating to blah, blah, blah with my Active Directory credentials. And you're going to be given multiple choice, drag and drop, those types of options for what you would tell Sally to do. How would you assist Sally in this particular problem? Likewise, when you get to a verb that says troubleshoot, like in 3.2, it says you're going to have to troubleshoot commonly encounter connectivity issues with peripherals. So you're going to be presented with a problem. Something is broken, like some printer issue, and you're going to have to think methodically, like what would I do first? What would be the steps that I would do to identify what the problem is, to diagnose the problem, and then the other part of troubleshooting, how would I fix it? If the verb was just diagnose, all you would have to do is find the problem. But with troubleshoot, you have to identify what's wrong, and then what would you do to fix it? And then when you get to a verb like examine, you see in 3.3, you're going to examine basic end device connectivity to the network. You're going to be given some data, and you're going to have to look over that data and make some assertion about it, make some statement about it. Like, what is the DNS server here? Or what is the IP address or subnet mask here? So it's a little bit lower level in terms of the complexity. You're not being asked to diagnose and fix a problem. You're just being asked to look at some, like what you think of. What is this? That would be identify. Describe would be give some more details about whatever concept is there. And the questions are going to be those multiple choice, drag and drop, matrix style questions. And you're going to have to answer those within that 50-minute time frame. But once you are ready to say, once you say, I'm going to go and do this test, this should be the first thing that you look at. Before you start assessing whether or not you're ready to go and do it, you're actually ready to sit for it. If this is a goal of yours, look at the blueprint. Say, have I studied all of this? Have I studied the nouns? Have I studied the whats? And have I studied those whats to the right level? Can I troubleshoot where it needs me to? Can I describe what it needs me to describe? And that's how you self-assess yourself and you self-test before you get going with any certification, certainly with CCST IT support. And this carries over, and like Jakob's story, this carries over into NA and NP and CCIE. All of these tests have these blueprints to help you come prepared, and we're not trying to pull any fast ones on you. We're not trying to surprise you. We want you to be as ready as possible for these tests. Tanner said up front, we've got some polling questions. Don't worry if you're not fast enough to scan this QR code now. We'll get back to it. But what we have in our Slido tool is a number of questions about the CCST IT support, how much you know about it, what you think about it, that type of thing. And we would love your feedback. So when you get a chance, either now or while I like the sound of my own voice and I keep talking, scan now, or at the end, you'll have an opportunity to do this. But now that I've said my bit, what I'd love to do is hand this over to Beth so she can talk about some of those resources and how you can get even better prepared for the CCST IT support. So thanks, and Beth, take it away.
Excellent. Thanks, Joe. And yes, I'm here representing Cisco Networking Academy. And like Joe said, go look at the exam topics. And even in addition to that, we have a bunch of learning resources that we get ready to help you prepare for these CCST certifications and actually a whole range of additional certifications as well. So let me talk about some of the learning options that are available to you today and coming in the future. So firstly, if you're interested in the CCST IT support, we are in the process of building out content that directly aligns to it. So in addition to looking at those exam topics, soon you'll be able to come to Cisco Networking Academy and actually take learning content, so courses, curriculum, that covers all of the topics that you need to be prepared for this exam. We'll be doing this in a similar way to the way we've delivered curriculum for the CCST cybersecurity and networking certifications, and I'll talk about those in just a moment. I want you to know that we're developing curriculum aligned to CCST IT support. It's not out quite yet. We're planning to release it in the coming months, but watch for updates to come. And a great way to hear about updates is to follow Cisco Networking Academy on LinkedIn, or you can also get on our subscribe to our email if you're interested in that. So let's talk about the other two certifications for a moment, CCST Cybersecurity and CCST Networking. These have been gaining quite a bit of traction. We have a number of people who have come and taken these certifications already, and they've gotten so much interest. The American Council on Education has determined that they're now accredited for 3 credit hours each. So what this means is basically if you earn one of these certifications, you might be able to get college or university credit for having the certification. And so each of these certifications have been assessed and awarded 3 credit hours each, and this is the highest number of credit hours that's recommended by ACE for any certification. So the question now is, if you earn one of these certifications, how would you be able to make use of this accreditation and earn those credit hours? So there are 2 steps for attaining college credit. Step 1 is verify with your university or college admissions office that they will grant credit for this certification. And the second step is to send your transcript. And there's through Credly, the platform for providing digital badges and certifications, you can actually have them send your transcript. So there's some information about that on the Credly Help Center. We're also going to be sharing the Student Resource Center through American Council on Education. So if this is interesting to you, if you want to try to get those credits, take a look at those resources and we'll post them after the session. If you're curious about CCST networking and cybersecurity, let me give you a quick summary of what topics are on there. Now, just like Joe said a moment ago, you can go out and look at the full list of exam topics on the websites. I'm going to just give you a quick high-level preview of what's covered on these. So for CCST networking, this is going to validate that you have skills and knowledge covering entry-level networking concepts. So it's things like foundational knowledge of network operations, endpoint and media types, network troubleshooting, and network support and security. And this is a great first step towards CCNA. So you heard Jacob talk earlier about how he jumped right into CCNA, but that there might have been a nice stepping stone to, be able to get him ready for it. That's exactly what the CCST certifications provide. Is they're a great first stepping stone, and then you can continue on if you want to pursue networking careers, go on to CCNA. If you earn the CCST certifications, these are lifetime certifications. There's no need to recertify, they just carry on with you. Now let's talk about the CCST cybersecurity certification. This one validates your skills and knowledge of cybersecurity principles. So network security, endpoint security, vulnerability assessment, risk management, incident handling. This is a great stepping stone if you want to continue on to CyberOps Associate certification. And that would be great if you're interested in defensive security types of roles, working in the Security Operations Center. Again, same thing, it's a lifetime certification and you don't need to recertify. So as I mentioned, there's curriculum options through Cisco Networking Academy if you're interested to prepare for these certifications. So we have some flexible options if you want to take self-paced courses or if you're interested in learning from an instructor. So I'm going to quickly walk through the different flavors that we have available for you. We offer a junior cybersecurity analyst career path, and this is a self-paced, curated learning pathway that you can start with 0 prerequisites. You can come to this career path and don't have to know anything ahead of time. We're going to walk you through all that you need to know to get ready to sit for that CCST certification exam. You can do it on your own time with online self-paced learning. A second option, you can see this middle row, is if you have some initial networking knowledge, you might like to just take a couple or 3 smaller courses. These can be offered self-paced or instructor-led. So if you want to do it on your own time, take the self-paced flavor, or if you're interested to learn from an instructor, you could look for an academy or an instructor locally in your area that teaches these courses. Another option that many of our instructors use is they might offer one single cybersecurity essentials course as an instructor-led semester-long course, and that covers, again, the same information. It's just offered in a slightly different packaging. So that could be another option. If you're looking for learning from an instructor at a local academy, you could look for cybersecurity essentials, and that will also prepare you for CCST cybersecurity. And with all of that background and certification, this gets you ready if you're interested to apply for entry-level jobs like a junior cybersecurity analyst or a cybersecurity technician or specialist or a tier 1 help desk support. And like we mentioned earlier, it's a great foundation to progress on to additional learning if you want to go for a cyber ops associate and pursue, again, those defensive security types of roles. Or if you're interested more in offensive security, we offer an ethical hacker course, which is a great way to start getting the skills you'd need if you want to do more of like a penetration testing type of role. Similarly, for CCST networking certification, we have a similar framework of types of courses and, again, flexibility so you can choose how you want to learn. If you want self-paced, you can go for our network technician career path. Again, it starts with no prerequisites. You can jump right in and get all the information and knowledge that you need to prepare for CCST networking. You can also choose to take the 4 shorter courses that are either instructor-led or self-paced flavors, or you can jump into that Networking Essentials full semester long course offered by instructors. This is a great foundation to then apply for entry-level jobs like a network support technician, an entry-level help desk technician, or an IT support specialist. And you can also, again, progress on to additional learning like the CCNA, or you could consider a DevNet associate if you're interested more in networking automation and DevOps types of roles. So all of this is free learning content and career resources from Cisco Networking Academy, and you can find it at netacad.com, but I have one caveat for you. We are right at the cusp of building out a new web experience and upgrading it this weekend. So what that means is our learning platform is going to be down starting tonight for 3 days, and it's going to be coming back up on Monday, August 26th. So if you want to check out this learning, don't do it this weekend, wait until next week, and then you're going to have the brand new upgraded web experience as well. And you can find all of these courses, search for a local academy near you, and find a lot more learning content and resources on a whole bunch of different topics. So bookmark the netacad.com site, but come back to it next week. And with that, let me hand it back to Tanner for some additional resources.
Thank you so much, Beth, and thank you to Joe and Jacob for sharing your experiences as well. Here are a few CCST resources that you can find some value in preparing for this certification. As we mentioned earlier, all these resources will be available to you on the post-webinar discussion thread on the Cisco Learning Network, and all these resources will also be included in the post-event email for you as well. So if you can't catch them right now, they'll be available to you here shortly. We'll share some links and stuff to where you can access each one of these. If you want to schedule your CCST exam and feel like you are ready to go ahead and tackle it, you can do that right now as well. Also, we've seen some questions come through, so I just wanted to hold off before I answered a couple of them. The book for the CCST IT support is coming soon. So I know there have been some questions coming through about that. A lot of people love their hard copies. Something that you can go over to Cisco Press and be on the lookout for. Also, you can check out some of the other offers, including just the CCST networking book, the CCST cybersecurity, and the networking exam that Beth just spoke on a few moments ago. We are to our live Q&A portion of this event. The QR code that Joe mentioned earlier will also redirect you to Slido, where those polling questions are available for you to provide some responses on about today's event. Really to just take a few moments and provide your answers to those helps us out tremendously. You can also ask your questions via Slido that we will get to right now. So I wanted to start with this first question. And a couple of these we may have just touched on, but would be good just to get a fresh reminder for our attendees. Attending today's session, I am not certified. What are the benefits of this certification, even if I'm not certified?
Well, thanks for attending the session. And that is the point here of CCST, is that many people here are not going to be certified. They're considering their IT career. They're considering, what should I do first? How should I get into this? And that's where CCST and Jakob and Beth both touched on it. It's that stepping stone. It's that initial step you can take to get on that certification journey. So you're not certified. This might be the CCST IT support, might be something that you want to do as your first step. If you look at some of the two other, the CCST networking that Beth talked about, and cyber, maybe one of those, depending on what interests you. Why IT? You joined this call for a reason. So why IT? Maybe you like being a detective. Maybe you like that sleuthing and figuring that type of stuff out, and cyber is the thing for you. Maybe you know that you are just a hardcore, you love this idea of connecting things, of building building your part of the internet, and CCST networking is something for you to do. Or maybe you're like, yeah, I want to have that experience interacting with people, learning what it is in a broader IT landscape of what companies, what problems companies are facing, and I want to be that support pillar in that. That's how I want to start my career and build my engineering path that way. And then there's CCST IT support, which we're talking about primarily today. But you don't have to, the point is, you don't have to be certified. These are all a great way to get started on that certification journey.
And builds off this question as well, if I have any requirements to take this exam. No, it just depends on your comfort level and after your studies, and whenever you're ready to take the exam, you can go ahead and schedule it.
Whenever you're ready. You don't even need to take any, if you feel you have the experience and the expertise and the knowledge, go take it right now. I took CCST networking actually a few months ago at our Cisco Live conference. I've taken a few certification tests. The engine, the platform, it's really nice. And it's a fair test. It aligns perfectly to that blueprint that I talked about. So if you're ready, go for it. If you need a little bit of time, you need a little bit of exposure and experience. As Beth said, we're going to be coming out with learning about that, learning content about CCST IT support to help you build that kind of confidence before you sit for the exam.
Great. Thanks so much, Joe. Here's another great question, and this is a question that we honestly get all the time that I may ask all of you to chime in on. Would it still be a great choice to start IT support or network design career at the age of 30 or around that area? I think a lot of people get caught up, or when they ask these questions, they're unsure, like, hey, I'm a little bit, I'm a little bit older than most people that would take these. Can you speak to, maybe somebody who's starting their learning journey a little bit later than others?
I'd love to jump in on that, Tanner, because my answer is absolutely yes. We actually, with Cisco Networking Academy, we have people of all ages coming, and whether they're just starting their career journey right from the beginning, or if they're deciding they want to maybe reskill from a different domain, maybe they've been working in another industry and they come back, they're coming back to school. We have people across a whole range of different ages. So 30 is definitely not too late, and I think this is a great way to be able to make that pivot or transition if you're interested.
I'll give you an example of that, Beth. When I started in TAC, one of the engineers, he was a chiropractor, like a practicing chiropractor, very senior in his career. And he said, you know what? I want to do something new. And he had come, joined TAC, and he was taking calls and solving customer problems. So I totally agree with you.
No, thank you for both speaking on that. I think that that's a common question that we get. I think some people are unsure, right? Like whether it's too late for them to start or not. And I really think this is a great opportunity to get your feet wet, so to speak. Let's see. Here's a good question, and this kind of falls along the recertification line. For somebody that already has their CCNA, if that is expiring soon, and I obtain the CCST cert, will that extend my CCNA as well?
No, from a recertification standpoint, the CCST, since the CCST, like Beth said, is lifetime, it doesn't need to be recertified. Getting another one just gets you another certification, but it doesn't recertify or work towards recertification of any of the higher level certifications like NA, NP, or IE.
Great, thanks, Joe. Here's a great question from Elena. Is CCST really enough just to get an entry job? Can you speak to its ability just to get yourself into the workforce?
I don't want to keep talking, Beth. If you want to jump in, I'm happy to, but I don't want to monopolize the mic.
Sure, why don't we both could comment on it, Joe? I think this is a great question. I think this is, again, where we're talking about the entry level and it being a stepping stone, right? And so one thing I wanted to mention as we were talking about an earlier question was you can get prepared for CCST certifications in as little as a semester. Right, so this is a valid question, but I think what it does is it prepares you for those entry-level roles. Like Joe was talking earlier about the exam topics, you're going to be assisting on things, you're going to be troubleshooting things, and so yeah, you're not going to be jumping right into maybe a CCNA level type of associate role, but this is a great way to start getting your foot in the door and start being able to be in more of that junior level, entry level role, and then start continuing to build your skills from there. So entry level jobs, apprenticeships, internships, those would all be relevant job roles for this level of certification.
Well said. I will say, in addition to the exam blueprints, we put together a few other things that you don't see behind the scenes. These are something we call a job role analysis and a job task analysis. All of our certifications, we want to be hireable. So we actually do the research to say, what is the job roles, like Beth, you said about apprenticeships, internships in this area of the field. What are those job roles that will exist? And we make sure our certifications align to those. So we do the work to say, yes, absolutely, there are people hiring for these types of skills.
Great. Thank you both. Thank you both. Here's a question. If we can't speak to it right at this time, we can definitely follow up. This question comes from Wayne. Is the CCST cybersecurity recognized by the DoD like Security Plus for the cyber workforce?
I don't know off the top of my head. Beth, I know we have an ACE accreditation you mentioned. I don't know if DoD, I can look into it though. I know who I would ask.
Great question. I don't know the answer to that either, but I think it'd be great if you could look into it, Joe.
No
Sure.
worries. Happy to look into it, and we can definitely follow up. With that. Let's see here. And just as a reminder, the QR code on the screen will send you to Slido where you can answer today's poll questions, as well as ask a question during our Q&A session here. A lot of questions about books and such. As we mentioned earlier, we're still working on releasing some things. We got some books and such coming soon. Let me just scroll up and down here. Sorry, give me one moment. Here's a good question, and this is from Matthew, who's probably thinking beyond CCST, right? Like, once I obtain this CCST, what's next for me? How much additional study or training beyond this certification would be needed in order for me to prepare for, let's say, the CCNA?
I'd have to look at the specific, compare the blueprints. Off the top of my head, we just released a modified blueprint for the CCNA. You're going to see so CCST IT support, like I mentioned, is a little bit more holistic in terms of the IT world, whereas like CCST networking is more of, say, a direct precursor to the NA, in that you're focused more on networking. But if you look at what the CCNA covers, it's primarily looking at network connectivity, layer 2 and layer 3, wireless, because how many networks have you gone into these days that offer you wireless, security, and automation. Automation includes a little bit of AI, just like some of the CCST exams do. And inside, say, looking at network connectivity, you're going to be expected to know some layer 2 connectivity concepts, layer 3 routing protocols. I believe OSPF is on there. So there are new concepts that you're going to have to study, as well as some of the existing CCST concepts. Remember, I talked about those verbs. You're going to be revisiting those same concepts, but maybe whereas CCST asks you to describe or identify, you'll be asked to configure or troubleshoot at the level in the NA. So it's adding new stuff, and it's taking some of the existing skills and making sure you can do more advanced things with them. But again, I would encourage people to look at that blueprint for the CCNA and say, okay, am I comfortable with these topics? Am I comfortable with them at the level they're being asked of me?
Yeah, as Joe mentioned, those blueprints are going to be super helpful for you in your studies, as long as you use those to aid in your resources and for studying. Going down some questions here. There's
Would it
go
be
ahead.
okay if I also comment on that question, because it might be helpful
Please.
as well to have a sense of the amount of curriculum that we have in preparing for these different certs. So I mentioned that preparation for the CCST certification would be approximately about 1 semester. For CCNA, our curriculum covers about 3 semesters. So that might give you also a little bit of a contrast of, right, the additional learning and investment that might be required to build up that level of knowledge.
Great. Thanks so much, Beth. Really appreciate it. Just going down some questions here, and some of them are just repeats, so I don't want to take up too much time covering some stuff that we already have. As mentioned at the top of this call, this session will be available for rewatch. As soon as we conclude, you can catch the rewatch on YouTube. We'll provide some of those details in that post-webinar discussion thread, as well as the post-event emails. Right now, would just like to take a moment before we do wrap up here in a few moments, and just go around to each of our speakers and just ask if there's anything else that you would like to cover once more before we do wrap up. Jacob, I would like to go back to you before going to Joe, then Beth. Is there anything else that you would like to touch on here before we close?
Good from my side. Thank you.
Thanks so much. Joe, is there anything else that you'd like to touch on here before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think we've said it, but and Jacob, you touched on it. Like you look forward to seeing what people do in their certification journey, and I think everyone here had a reason to be here, to say I want to learn more. I want to see what might be in store for me, or what might be out there for me, and I would encourage you to follow through. A lot of times, and this happened to me, I was always fascinated with flying, not necessarily liking to fly because let's face it, air travel these days is a mess. I said, you know what, I would love to be a pilot. And once at one conference, I met a guy who was a pilot, and he said, you know what, you should do it. And a lot of times you get on, you are faced with these types of questions, and you're like, yeah, I should do it. Maybe I will. And you walk away, and you never really follow through. Forget it. I did it. I went through with it, and it was one of the greatest things ever. It is one of the most fun, most exciting. It gives me a different perspective on things. And I would say here, if this is something that you think might be for you, don't let the opportunity pass you up. Take advantage of it. Take advantage of the resources that are out there. Follow through and do it, and see how it's going to transform and change your life. So make it happen.
Make it happen. Love it. Love it. Beth, I'll go over to you.
Well said, Joe. And I'll just piggyback on that to say that if you're in this place of being curious about a career in tech, maybe you're exploring, right? We've talked about how we have these 3 different types of CCST certifications. You can take the IT support, cybersecurity, networking. I think my takeaway that I'd like to leave you with is don't be too worried about that, meaning that it's locking you in to some sort of specific path, right? These are great starting points to explore. And you might jump into one of these and say, oh, this is really interesting, but actually, maybe I started in networking, but actually I found that the pieces about security in these courses were the parts that I was most excited about. So even if you pick one of them, you're going to get your feet wet and then be able to continue to build your career from there. So don't be too worried about needing to know exactly where you want to go before you jump in and start.
Great. Thank you once again to all 3 of you and the whole team for bringing your knowledge to the Cisco community today. Really appreciated this session. If you do have a question for our speakers, we'll keep that Q&A portion of Slido open for a couple more minutes. For even more tutorials, demonstrations, and future webinars, please visit the Cisco Learning Network. As we mentioned on the CLN, the Cisco Learning Network, you can find the post-webinar discussion thread from today's session. It includes all of the resources, the blueprints where you can schedule your CCST IT support exam, as well as catch the playback for today's session is all included on the Cisco Learning Network. Your feedback is important, and at this time you'll be directed to a post-webinar survey. Please take the time to participate in that. Helps us plan out some future sessions. Once again, we thank everybody for joining us today, and we will see you next time on the Cisco Learning Network.